let's jump back into our story as we want to make this a little bit more dynamic. Let's go to that left bar where tools are, and we're going to get a form and drag it onto our storyboard. And after we do that, let's actually drag it up to the top because we want this to be what kicks off the story. Let's connect this action to our set URL and then click on create form. And let's start off by doing a URL field. So we can choose any of these fields, but let's start off with URL field. And we're going to just name this URL, don't need the one. And let's also make this a required field. So we're just creating an intake form right now. On the right-hand panel, we see that the field's already there. Let's add another field by clicking the plus button and then choosing email. Let's update the name to just be email without the one, and then set this to required. And what we're doing is we're basically saying email and URL are required anytime somebody fills out this form. And we can also add in other fields, but just for simplicity, we're just going to keep it to these two. Now, this form is actually on top of my event transform, so I'm just going to click and drag it above it. And when I'm clicked into my form, let's just change the name from new form. Let's call it Analyze URL. After we've named the form, let's now update the description. So anybody who's interfacing with this form, because we're actually going to end up making this into a link that we can share out. All right, so enter the URL you'd like to have analyzed by the security team. After someone's filled out the form, there's actually this area for a success message. So by default, it's set up to thank you for your submission. Let's update that and make it a little bit more of a catered experience. All right, how about something like your URL has been successfully submitted for review. Now, if we want to get this link for someone to fill out the form, it's available down here on the bottom for copy private link. Let's take a quick look at what that actually would look like for someone who isn't actually in Tynes working on the story. So here we have it, the Analyze URL. We have the URL and the email fields, which are required, and then the description, which we have at the top. Now, we can also set the story to public. This is for any external audience. So anybody who's actually not in your Tynes tenant, that's when you'd want to set it up to public if you want only others to be accessible. We can see in this quick example in incognito mode, we still see the form available with the URL and the email in the same description as we had it before on the private. The biggest difference here is that the private link is only going to work for people who are already added to your Tynes tenant. Now, at this point, we actually haven't published our story yet. Let's click on publish, and then let's toggle that publish button on. This is going to make it so that your story will run whether you are in it or not. So if you're not actively in your story and someone submits the form, it'll still run. But if you don't have it published and someone's trying to access the form and submit, it won't work. So it's really important that we publish our stories. So we've been using Tynes, so let's use a different URL this time. We're going to use YouTube instead. So go ahead and enter in the URL or another URL if you'd like, and then enter in the email address and then hit submit. In the top right-hand corner, we'll see the event data went off and it flows through each of these actions. Let's actually pop into our email just to see if it updated accordingly. All right, so it looks like it's still showing Tynes. So let's go back into our story and see what might have happened. So if we go into this set URL, it looks like we still have that value that we manually entered of Tynes. After we've clicked in, let's do control space, and this will pull up the prompt, and then we'll go to analyze URL dot body dot URL. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, we can see that it was YouTube. And Command Enter or Control Enter if you're on Windows to submit that value. Now there's one other value that we'll want to update from the form. So let's go ahead and change the email address here. We'll just delete the original one and click the plus and pull up the value. We'll do the analyze URL dot body dot email. And then we'll see the email in the bottom right-hand corner and do Command Enter or Control Enter. All right, since we've updated all of the reference points in our actions, we're going to scroll back up to the top where the action originally started from the Analyze URL form, and we're going to open up the events. So rather than resubmitting the data, what we're going to do is click in the events in the top right-hand corner, and then we'll see that the event emitted 1 minute ago. We're just going to check off the event that happened before, and we're going to click onto this re-emit. So rather than resubmitting the form, we can just take that data and pass it down again through those actions. So let's go ahead and close this event bar. And we'll see, just like when the action originally started off, it's going to flow through those different actions, hit that delay. It's going to wait 10 seconds, and then it's going to continue through all the way down to that email action. And ideally, it's going to use all the form data that we're referencing. So let's pull up the email and take a look. All right, so it looks like it has YouTube in there, and it's defanged it like it did for the Tines URL. We have the screenshot URL. It's of YouTube. Awesome. That's all we have for today's lesson. I just want to close up and thank everyone for joining the Self-Paced Bootcamp. Additionally, if you're looking to continue to learn more about how you can create stories, a really great resource is a story library here on the bottom left-hand corner. If you click into it, we'll have a lot of different stories that have already been pre-built that you can just import directly into your tenant. It's a great place to learn and to get yourself started really quick with a use case that might apply to you directly right now. So whether it is GitHub, Slack, CrowdStrike, or plethora of other tools that are possibly part of your team's daily workflow, you can get that implemented immediately. In addition to these tools as examples, there's also techniques on the bottom here. So if you're looking for how you can send data from this system, the audit log, to something else, you can go to this story right here, log events for auditing, click this little button, and it'll pull you into kind of an expanded view to see this story. And then as we scroll down, we can look at all the actions that are part of the story and any like notes or annotations that are part of it that give you a little bit of context, and you can import it directly into your tenant and get started right away. I highly encourage you to check that out. We also have the docs and the lessons, which are also available from this page. Again, thanks everyone for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.